Hi guys, it's Virginia here, and I'm here to talk to you about something a little fun actually, but it's also done because I never want to have to explain it ever again to people. Evidence of Rey's lineage as a Skywalker, brought to you by me, or Virginia H, it doesn't matter. Now, you may have noticed by me turning my head, I did try to put my hair up in the Rey hairstyle. Now, I didn't look when I was doing it, so I have no idea what it looks like, and it probably looks so bad, because my hair is pretty short. It's like a little bit below my shoulders. I don't think it would actually work. But what do you think? Tell me in the comments. Anyway, I have been asked about 6 times on Tumblr from different people to explain what evidence there is in The Force Awakens that proves she is a Skywalker and not something else. Or not nothing. Or nothing. Sorry about that. It's been a long day. So I decided that I don't want to have to explain it ever again. Because it's so annoying to have to explain it 1,010,000 times. Especially when there is so much to cover. So, I decided to just handy-dandy notes what evidence there is in The Force Awakens that proves she is a Skywalker and not something else. And I am going to start by saying a lot of people have a problem with The Force Awakens because it looks so similar to A New Hope. And it does. I mean, honestly, the first time I was watching it because I just wanted to see what the new thing, like the whole new saga was going to be about. The second time I watched it, I started realizing, there's a lot of similarities. Then by the third time, I'm just like, this is very, very similar to The Force Awakens. This is very, very similar to A New Hope. And even in the first time I watched it, I saw there were similarities, but that was basically to be expected, right? But a lot of people hate it. They think it's basically just a grab at the original trilogy fans, like, come watch it, I want your money. But I don't see it that way. One of the things that's very important in being a director or a writer or something is to leave context clues about certain things that won't be revealed for a long time. And you know what I'm talking about there. So that's one of their main things, because it makes an audience feel smart that they picked up on these clues and they drew the conclusion before it was revealed. So it's a writer and director's job to make sure that the audience can pick up on these clues. Now, the whole thing about The Force Awakens and A New Hope being similar is very accurate. But I don't think it's a grab just at original trilogy fans to get them into it. I mean, it probably serves that purpose to some extent, but I don't think that was its sole purpose, if that makes any sense. I think the main purpose was strategy, as opposed to convenience. And because I believe that they actually structured this movie after A New Hope, because they wanted to show you without telling you, because that's another very important thing about writing and directing. Show, not tell, that she is Luke's daughter. So because of that, I excused it. I excused the difference. I excused the very similar things because I picked up on why they were doing it. Because they wanted to show us that she was Luke's daughter. I actually think this hairstyle kind of looks good on me. Anyway, now, I'm going to go into the things that make me think that she is a Skywalker based on what was revealed and what was said and what was done, both cinematically and story, that to me makes me think she's definitely Luke's daughter. That she was an orphan is a very important thing. Luke was effectively an orphan. I mean, he had a mother and a father, but his mother was dead, and his father, we all know what happened to Daddy. He was basically being raised by his aunt and uncle on some kind of farm. He was basically a farm boy. And Rey, her parents left her. Now, that might seem inconsequential to some people. A lot of people leave each other in Star Wars. But why would we be introduced to two orphans during two different times for no reason? Like, it's important to know Luke's parentage. It was always important to know Luke's parentage. It was important to know that he was the son of Anakin Skywalker. And it was always kind of given to you in the movie that it was important. Because, like, Obi-Wan mentioned his father. There was always a mystery because of his uncle around his father. There was always some, like, mention of his father. There was never a mention of his mother, but whatever. There was always a mention of his father. There is also always a mention of Rey's parents. I mean, it's mostly Rey talking about her parents, but talking about how her parents left. But there's also an air of, who are you? Why are you important around her? It's not... I can't really explain this one all that well, to be honest. It's very difficult to explain this without sounding stupid. But it's very important. It has been made very important during A New Hope and actually throughout the entire trilogy. The original trilogy. And The Force Awakens is who's daddy, pretty much. It's always been established as this is an important question to answer. It was also kind of established with Anakin, like, who's really daddy, because he doesn't actually have a father, but even though people suspect it's Darth Plagueis. That's actually a pretty cool theory, but we're not talking about that. Now, that day we're on both of them, Rey and Luke, were on a sand planet. Luke, we all know his home planet was Tatooine, and Rey's was Jakku. They were both conveniently sand planets. Now, I don't really know how to go into this anymore because it's basically just, sure, a lot of people will brush the sand planet thing off as an homage or a reminiscent of Obi-Wan's self-imposed exile. And the orphan thing, well, Obi-Wan was basically an orphan too, because we never knew his parents. Well, there's a difference there, because Obi-Wan's parentage is completely inconsequential to the story arc. And it's already been established that knowing Rey's parentage and Luke's parentage were both very important things for us to know. So that's two reasons why I don't think she's a Kenobi. The attire. Also, people will say that it looks a lot like what Obi-Wan wore when he was in the desert, which is not something that's ridiculous to say. It does. But it's also very, very reminiscent of Luke's farm boy garb. We all know what his farm boy garb looked like. It was like brownish pants, I think, and like a whitish, beigeish top. I don't even know how to describe it, but you know what he looks like. And that's basically also what Rey is wearing. And it's actually, the color scheme is similar, so it's actually been said that Rey's character was based off of when George Lucas was thinking about making Luke a girl. So I think that kind of gives it away that she's Luke's daughter, but I'm not going to make you think it that way. Now we're getting into more important things, in my opinion. Both of them, both Rey and Luke, had a very strong desire to stay. Now, Rey was always looking for her parents when she was on Jakku. She always kept saying, I have to get back to Jakku. My parents might be waiting for me. She's been waiting there for fuck knows how long. Sorry, I just cursed. I didn't mean to there. For God knows how long. Or Force knows, whatever. There's something in my throat. Hold on one second. I'm sorry about this. This isn't a professional video. And Luke had a desire to stay too. As much as he didn't really want to, he didn't want to let his aunt and uncle down. He also had to be home for dinner. Remember when he was with Obi-Wan, he's just like, and Obi-Wan's just like, come with me. And he's just like, no, I can't. I have to get home. My uncle's gonna kill me. It's late already as is. And he did want to stay. And he went back to his home to find that his aunt and uncle were dead. And that actually leads into the next thing I'm gonna say. And then I'll have to talk about something else. It's gonna be annoying. This is gonna be kind of annoying. Because there's things that are sort of intertwined. The ObiWan figure. People are always saying how it's not Star Wars without a Kenobi. And honestly, I kind of agree with you. But I honestly feel that the Kenobi thing doesn't necessarily have to be a Kenobi. I think it has to be an Obi-Wan type figure. In A New Hope, there was Obi-Wan Kenobi. So he was obviously the Obi-Wan figure. But who was the Obi-Wan figure in The Force Awakens? It's someone you're not thinking about. Someone you didn't really think about until I'm just going to say who it is. Maz Kanata. She was the Obi-Wan figure. People often attribute her to Yoda. But she doesn't really act like a Yoda. She acts more of an Obi-Wan. She acts more of like a mother type. Like Obi-Wan acted like a father. Or a grandfather, or whatever. Maz acts like a mother, or a grandmother, a wise woman. Kind of like Obi-Wan too, but not a wise woman, a wise man, whatever. So, Luke's Obi-Wan figure was Obi-Wan, and Rey's Obi-Wan figure was Maz. They both basically served the same purpose. They convinced their respective protege? I don't know the word there. They convinced either Luke or Rey to leave. Now, that might sound a little confusing, like, Maz didn't actually convince her to leave. Well, yeah, she kind of did. Now, it's hard to kind of explain. You know how they were at the Maz's bar? And she was with Han and Finn, and Rey said, not me, I have to get back to Jakku. And then after that, she found her in the basement after everything changed. She's just like, the belonging you seek, it is not behind. It is in front of you. And that is when Rey kind of decided to leave. As much as she did try to escape and run away from what she wanted to do, what she knew she had to do, she kind of did effectively decide to leave and not go back to Jakku. After Maz said that. And that was basically Obi-Wan, and it was basically Luke saying to Obi-Wan, there's nothing left for me here. After Obi-Wan said, like, come with me, I can show you whatever. Luke was like, there's nothing left for me here. After finding his aunt and uncle dead, like, there's nothing left. So I might as well come with you. They had the same basic reason for leaving. There was effectively nothing left on their planet for them. Maz told Rey that she knows the truth. That her family is never coming back. That someone still could. And Luke saw his aunt and uncle dead. His whole family was effectively killed. Her whole family, to her knowledge, is dead. So they had the same basic reason for deciding to leave and basically give up going back to those places. Now, I think the next important thing to say is the lightsaber. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, it came to her, blah, 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 but I'm not actually trying to go there. I'm really not. Okay. It was Luke's and Anakin's. Oh, hold on, wait, that wasn't the first thing I wanted to say. First and foremost, it was locked in a crate and or trunk until its owner arrived. Obi-Wan kept the lightsaber of Anakin's locked in a crate until Luke actually interacted with him. Maz kept it locked in a crate forever until Rey decided to come and find it herself. Now that's significant to me, because why, out of everyone, would Rey be the person to find it in the basement locked in a crate? And why would Obi-Wan, I mean, maybe he didn't really meet that many people, and he knew exactly who he was going to give it to, but Obi-Wan knew he had to give it to him. Maz, after having kept this lightsaber for probably like 2 decades or something like that, locked in a crate, she decides to give it to Rey. She seemed to really admire this lightsaber because it was Luke's and his father's before him. And now it calls to you. She realized that Rey is the natural owner of the lightsaber because it was calling to her. And it was locked in a crate, whatever. Now, I wrote a question down that is just like, why would a call to Rey if she wasn't blood? I mean, I don't really think I have to explain that. I mean, people will say, well, Obi-Wan trained both Anakin and Luke, so it makes sense that it would call to her if she was around and she was the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, I am kind of on board with that, but also, the lightsaber is the life force of its wielder. We've seen that, I think, in a movie. We've seen that in a couple of movies. We've seen that in the Clone Wars and in Rebels. Now, it's the life force of the wielder. Why would this lightsaber, after all this time, finally call to her, after it's basically been imprinted with both the imprint of Luke and Anakin, because it realized there's something here. This is familiar to us. So the life force that Anakin and Luke both gave to this lightsaber called to her because it's familiar to the lightsaber itself. I know that's weird. I'm personifying the lightsaber, but I honestly believe it has some semblance of a mind of its own. Now, another thing I should mention is that the Obi-Wan figure in both A New Hope and The Force Awakens attempted to give the lightsaber to either Rey or Luke. I don't know what it should be called, and I want a word for it. But Maz tried to give the lightsaber to Rey, encourage her to take it. Take it, it's yours. It calls to you. And Luke said, and Obi-Wan said, it's yours now. And Obi-Wan gave the lightsaber to Luke, effectively. I don't think either of them really wanted it at first, and Rey really didn't want it at first, but whatever, what have you. The point of that was that the Obi-Wan figure in each of the movies gave the lightsaber to the protagonist. What should I talk about next? Now, this is gonna sound a little cracky. It's really not. Actually, first, I'm not gonna do the crack thing. I'll do the crack thing after this. The family values that both Rey and Luke have. Luke, I'm gonna actually read exactly what I wrote. Luke's interest and admiration for his father, and steadfastness in believing he was still good, and Rey's belief that her parents would return and interest in Luke's return. Now, these things both prove that they have similar character traits. Steadfastness, well, fastidiousness? I don't even know if that's the right word. I haven't used that word in years. And interest and admiration for their family line. Luke always believed that his father was good. Even after he knew who he was. He says, there's still good in him. I know it. I feel it. And Rey always thought her parents would return, that they're still good. They'll return for me one day. They never did. Anakin did turn back to the light side. One of them got it right. And after she finally accepted in herself that they're not going to come back, she basically gave herself kind of fully to the return of Luke Skywalker. Because it's the belonging you seek is ahead of you. So I think that was kind of important to mention. I was going to say the dark side, and then I wrote something stupid next to it, but now I actually kind of want to talk about the dark side because I was thinking about it. One thing that I have to say is that both of them can easily, very easily, be turned to the dark side. That's because they both lost basically their entire families. They both lost a lot. They both lost a lot. Rey is a straight up orphan. Luke at least has his sister. And now he has Rey. But anyway, Luke at least has his sister and his most likely daughter. But they can easily both be turned to the dark side, especially if we go back in time and parallel to A New Hope and The Force Awakens. Luke was very, very emotional. And he could have easily just succumbed to the dark side. Rey is also very emotional and could have been succumbed to the dark side. And could succumb to the dark side still, and I think she actually might, but I hope not. That would suck. Now, also another thing about the dark side is let's break down quickly the characters and who they really are. In A New Hope, we all know about these characters. I'm not going to talk very much about them. There's Luke, Leia, and Han. There's also Obi-Wan. And Darth Vader, of course. But Obi-Wan dies like 45 minutes into A New Hope, so he's not really super important, if you know what I'm talking about. But it's basically Luke, Leia, Han, and Darth Vader. Now, in this one, there's Rey, Finn, Poe, and Kylo Ren. There is essentially a Skywalker right here, Darth and Kylo, who are basically, essentially, I don't want to say it, but the same person. They serve the exact same purpose. This is classic. This is classic. You gotta have a villain. You gotta have a relatable villain, which was very important with the prequels for Darth. You gotta have a villain. And Anakin Skywalker, who is Darth Vader, I'm gonna be talking with my fingers now. Anakin Skywalker, who is Darth Vader, he is a Skywalker. He is basically the first Skywalker, except for Shmi, who we all love and adore. Okay, so he is basically the first and most, arguably most important Skywalker because he caused all this to happen. So he was a bad dude in A New Hope and in The Empire Strikes Back, and mostly throughout Return of the Jedi. So he was a bad dude. You have Ben Solo, who is the grandson of Anakin Skywalker. He is a Skywalker. You got a Skywalker on both sides. No, you got a Skywalker on the dark side. You gotta have a Skywalker on the light side, too. You have Luke Skywalker, obviously, who's basically facing off against his father, Anakin Skywalker, or Darth Vader. So you gotta have a Skywalker on both sides. This is kind of balances it out. I mean, I don't want to say it balances it out, because then you know what I'm gonna say next. So we have Finn and Poe, who are both clearly not Skywalkers, especially because Poe is not Force sensitive, and Finn is hopefully Force sensitive, hopefully. But he really can't be a Skywalker, I don't think. I don't know, because I hope he's Force sensitive, but in reality he's probably not. So neither of them are Skywalkers. Neither of them. So that leaves only one. Now I'm kind of losing it because I've been talking for so long. There's Rey, whose last name we don't know, because her parents never came back for her. But if there's Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker facing off, and there's Ben Solo Skywalker and Rey Skywalker, you got it together. You paralleled the stories perfectly. And you kind of want that, actually, because it's familiar to the audience, which is very important to do in cinema. You're supposed to make something that's familiar, but tell it in an interesting way. So you basically have A New Hope, but told in the form of A New Hope. Okay, how do I say this? You basically have The Force Awakens told as A New Hope because of strategy and not simply convenience. Because it's kind of necessary to have this Skywalker versus Skywalker thing. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is people freak out that she's a Kenobi because of the voice of Obi-Wan talking to her in her visions. Now, there's actually something I forgot. Let's talk about the visions real quick. The visions. What were they brought about by? Was it the Force? Or was it the saber or was it what the saber itself saw? I believe that the saber has a life force of its own because of its owners. Or its wielders, whatever you want to call it. I believe that the lightsaber showed what it needed to show Rey. What it had seen. To show her what was going on. And because the lightsaber is Luke's, it showed everything that happened and where he was. And there is one point where, everyone thinks that they were talking, that the Knights of Ren were going after Rey because she was like on the ground or something. But was it? If it's what the lightsaber saw, was it really Rey? Or was it Luke? I don't know. I just think that's cool. But anyway, the voice of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was there for Luke basically throughout his life. And the saber knows Obi-Wan because he trained both of them. When Obi-Wan's voice says, Rey, these are your first steps, Rey, or Rey, these are your first steps. Rey's first steps were seeing what happened to her father and Obi-Wan telling her, this is who she is. This is what she's going to do. That's what I believe her first steps were. I don't believe the voice of Obi-Wan being there proved at all that she was a Kenobi. I believe it was basically that the lightsaber knows Obi-Wan, knows his relationship to both its previous owners, and knows that, and basically it's kind of imprinted to some extent with the essence of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I still believe he might pop up somewhere as a Force ghost. That'd be nice. We all love Obi-Wan. But honestly, the first steps were being shown who her father was. And this is who she is and what happened. And showing her what she's going to face. They were not there just because, oh, she's a Kenobi. Now, I believe in this 30-minute video, I did a pretty good explanation of why I think she is a Skywalker and not a Kenobi. Although I would get on board if she was both. I would love that. I'd be like, yeah, man, let's go. Yeah, bruh. Okay, but I honestly don't want to have to explain this to anyone ever again. I believe everything in The Force Awakens, from the way it was structured, to the way they dressed Rey, to the way to where she lived, to her background, to everything. There was always an air of mystery behind there's always an air of mystery behind who she is, as there was an air of mystery behind who Luke really was in relationship to the whole universe. Basically, his father destroyed the universe. But there's always an air of mystery behind them both. And it's very important to not, ignore the very important details. And it's very important to think of everything as a whole. And how their character is. How they carry themselves. It's not as, cut and dry as people think. Too many people think that I am saying that she is a Skywalker, she is the daughter of Luke Skywalker, just because I want her to. Well, yeah, I want her to, because everything in The Force Awakens showed me that she was. Everything. Yeah, I explained to you, 8 or 9 things that proved she was a Skywalker to some extent. And I don't believe there's any other way there's any other logical conclusion that can be drawn from everything we were shown. These context clues that the director and writers left for us gave me this conclusion. And I just don't want to have to explain this to people anymore because it's driving me nuts, especially because it's a lot of stuff to remember. And when you're asked on the spot, you can't just, take 3 days to reply. So, thanks for watching. But, wait, first, I just want to put this out there. I am not here to try to change your mind. I am here to hopefully educate you a little bit as to why people think this way. And also, so that I never have to explain this ever again, I can just link the video why do you think that? Linked. I am here because I want you to understand why we think something. I am here to help you to understand why she most likely is a Skywalker. I'm not here to change your mind. But, okay, so, thanks for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'm gonna get some water because I'm dying. May the Force be with you.